Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone in the franchise world. My name is Paul Segreto, and this is Franchise Today. Today is Tuesday, November 9th, 2016, one day removed from Election Day 2016. And I'd like to welcome my co-host, Stan Friedman, on that has some great information from us coming out of the Election Day.
Hey, Paul, and hello, everybody. Yeah, you say one day removed, I say one day plus. So it's just been such stress and tension for everybody, no matter where you fit on the political spectrum. I think that this has just been such a long cycle and such a contentious cycle, Paul, that like me, I think most people are just relieved whether they got what they wanted or think they got what they wanted or not. I think most of us are just glad to go sigh, relief. It's done. It's finished. And the sun came up today, and life goes on, and here we are with a lot of things to process as the result of the amazing events of this election cycle. And to your point, I took the liberty today to place a call and was able to have a brief conversation with our IFA executive CEO, Robert Cresante, and just try to get some quick snapshots from Robert as to what he sees and how he perceives what took place in America yesterday and what it will mean to us in franchising. And Robert was good enough to give me a preview of a press release that IFA will be issuing, and it'll be available, I'm sure, if not already, later today on the wires. And I'll just paraphrase from some of this and share with you some of the things that Robert shared with me. And he says in this press release, quote, "This was a truly historic election. However, now that the votes are almost fully counted, the real work begins. The IFA congratulates President-elect Trump on his victory and congressional Republicans for retaining their majorities and looks forward to working with members of both parties to put the country on a long-term pathway to economic growth." He goes on to say that the American middle class, upward mobility and opportunity have suffered from years of political gridlock and business as usual. This election marks a sea change in how the American people expect their elected officials to conduct themselves. And we've got to find a third way, not the Republican way, not the Democrat way, but the American way. He says franchising is a uniquely accessible business model, allowing Americans to go into business for themselves, not by themselves. It creates jobs at all levels and upward mobility for those who need it most. In this election, voters clearly rejected candidates who pledged to continue governing by regulatory fiat or by imposing policies that would destroy jobs and crush small businesses, all of which are the engine of our economy. So Mr. Cresante urges the president-elect to strike the massive regulatory state created by the practice of legislation through executive order and for congressional leaders to repeal unnecessary, harmful, and overly burdensome regulations, beginning with the newly broadened joint employer standard and the Department of Labor's overtime rule. A letter was also issued, which Aziz Hashim has signed off on, along with Gordon Logan, CEO of Sports Clips, Catherine Monson, Fast Signs, Fran Netz, Jana Bailey. That full letter will be available online as well. But basically, what we're saying is we must never forget that we have an ongoing duty to lift everyone up and show how important business can be in helping to democratize opportunity for all Americans, regardless of their background, education, or station in life, said Aziz Hashim as part of that letter. Franchising is the most accessible pathway to the American dream, and I'm proud to sign on to a letter that ensures that message is being spread as widely as possible, said Aziz. So it's IFA's put their release out there with Mr. Cresante's voice, and basically, Robert boiled it all down to this, Paul. Anybody who thinks they got what they wanted needs to really, really analyze what it is they want. He said because this election, even with control of both houses and the executive, is not going to be a panacea. That he basically said, strap your seatbelt on and get ready for some really rough times ahead, that Republicans and Democrats, both who are steeped in their prior beliefs of the way things ought to be, are going to have to learn a new way to get things done, or Trump is going to have to as well learn a new way to get things done in the small world of D.C., which operates under a different business model than perhaps businesses it's done in the private sector. It's going to be a learning curve for a lot of people, and it's going to come with some bumps in the road. But I feel like just by the lifting of the burden of regulation alone, from what I've heard from Robert Crescente today, that everybody in our space can expect, at least in that regard, that we're already in a better place day one of the new presidency. Paul, that's the front of the house.
Well, and it's a very powerful front of the house. It's a powerful time in our history. It's also a powerful time in franchising as we all look forward to a bright future. You know, talking about bright futures, our guest, Charles Bonfiglio, has been quoted in the past as saying, in our continued growth, both in terms of new franchisees and vendor relationships, made this a great year for Tint World. We were able to accomplish a lot as a franchise, but some of our most successful actions have been what we've done behind the scenes to prepare for the coming year. And he said that just ahead of 2016. And for those that don't know Charles Bonfiglio is an American entrepreneur, franchisor, president, and CEO of Tint World, automotive styling centers. A very unique background. After owning a number of successful automotive franchises and starting an automotive e-commerce business, Charles developed Tint World to begin franchising in 2006. Since then, he's been instrumental in growing the brand to more than 60 established stores in and out of the United States. Charles, welcome to Franchise Today.
Good morning, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to meet you, both Paul and Stan.
Stan, he called us gentlemen. He really probably doesn't know us very well.
Yeah, well, and only we at this point know that all three of us are New Yorkers, although a couple or three. Well, we're also transformed New Yorkers, so I guess we're recovering New Yorkers.
Yeah, but
I used
would add insult to injury is we're all Brooklynites.
That's true.
Well, I use the word gentleman lightly.
Well, we take it as such, and as you can tell, we are a little bit lighthearted, even though we're coming through a very serious time in our country's history, and of course, with franchising having undergone so many attacks and continued attacks, it's at least good to be looking at some light down the road. I do agree with what Mr. Crescente had said. Buckle up that seatbelt because it is going to be one heck of a ride, and there's going to be some potholes along the way. Sure. As we do with all our guests, I like to find out a little bit more about you, the person, and what basically, brought you, through the ranks of having owned some franchise locations in various businesses, developing a new type of business in e-commerce, and then all the way up to the point of, starting and growing Tint World.
Well, that's a large question. I don't know if we have enough time on this radio show to go through it all, but I'll give you a little bit about it. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, as both you have, and there was opportunity for opening up business, and so I went through a series, of opening up businesses, and I decided to move to Florida. And moving to Florida, it was like at that time in 1983 it was. 82 it was. It was like a new area. It was like you were born again. Any credit you had in New York, any relationship you had, it was completely separated. So in doing that, coming down here, when I wanted to open a business, I had the idea of an automotive styling center. I worked in one as a teenager, and it was hard to get, the landlords to talk to me. They felt I was a young guy. I didn't have credit down in Florida, even though I had it in New York. So, being down here after several months looking for properties, looking for real estate, trying to set up vendor accounts, I realized, I better get a job and work for a little bit to get this thing going. So I did, and I got a job in my industry figuring I would learn more of people that would be able to work for me when I hired them, when I got my business open. As being down here, I ran into a franchise that was in the automotive industry, and it sounded pretty good because using the name behind me, I was easily able to get a loan and financing. And when I told the the landlords, that I was going to be a tenant of this franchise system I was looking into, the same tenants that wouldn't talk to me about my independent location I had planned were easily able to talk to me and welcome me as a flagship store in one of their shopping centers or their strip malls to put a franchise in there. So I was the same guy, same plan, but when I had a brand behind me, I had the financing, I had the opportunity to get real estate deals, and I had the opportunity to actually welcome more qualified employees to work for me. So it really was, that's how it started, by growing with the franchise. From that point, I just opened more and more stores and grew along with the franchise system.
At that point in Florida, we're talking about which brand?
The brand was Meineke Car Care Centers. At the time, it was Meineke Discount Mufflers, predominantly a muffler shop that sold some other miscellaneous services, shocks, and later I added on brakes. Well, getting into that brand, and really that brand have evolved. So over the years, I moved to Florida thinking that it was going to be just as good as it was up in the Northeast, but there really wasn't a lot of exhaust work. You don't have the snow and the salt in Florida. So I, figured and I'm seeing the sales coming out of the northern stores saying, why are they doing this? I'm better than that. I should be up doing those kinds of numbers. So after doing some research, I realized exhaust work wasn't as big in Florida. Hence, it gave me the opportunity to look at other services. Now, this wasn't something that the franchise wanted initially, but they saw that the stores in the South weren't doing as good as the stores in the North. So I started to take on as a test center for Meineke Car Care Centers, Meineke Discount Mufflers at the time, to add on brakes and shocks and tires and alignments. And it wasn't long before my stores became top performers like the ones in the Northeast. From that point, I found my niche. I realized I needed to, diversify the service offerings, and Meineke supported me on this as being one of their leading and consulting dealers. Later on in years, we came out with the first computer. Consumers were complaining that we were handwriting invoices. They couldn't read them the way some of the people were writing them. So we wanted to automate the printing of those. Meineke had one of their conventions had said to me, who wants to, in front of me and other dealers, who wants to be a chairman of this computer committee and help us figure out and test market this? And I put my hands up and I said, I'll do that. And I became the chairman of the Meineke Computer Committee, launching their first point of sale in the late 80s just to print invoices on dot matrix printers. Eventually, I just got really creative and crafty, and I started to help them build reporting systems and inventory systems and commission programs and, all these things in the point of sale system that you can use today, eventually electronic ordering. I helped them, with their outline of their first website on a committee, their first ordering system, the transition of the electronic data for reporting. So all these things through the years of being on the committees, working with, the corporate team as a franchisee at the front line. And actually, I might say that I was their top franchisee, highest gross volume stores, multiple stores. I built 7 stores in South Florida. A lot of the properties I built and owned myself and put businesses into them. So it did really well for me to grow with a franchise system. I saw the value. And at one point, somewhere in the early 2000s, I spent a lot of time helping other franchisees through this process, just because they're fellow dealers. And I said, I'm pretty good at this. I think I could probably do some better things if I launched my own brand. And in 2006, I decided to buy a small chain of 6 stores that originally started in 1982 and bought into them and took it from a small local 6-store chain into a franchise system. And over the years, I just learned a lot. I read a lot. I actually created the operations manual, the employee manual, for a template for the franchisees. I wrote the FDD, and we launched in 2007 with 3 stores in the first year that were purchased. And from there, it just continued to get better, and I put time into marketing and research. And again, as a franchisee, on one end, being at the front lines, unlike some corporate franchisors, maybe they don't remember being behind that counter and dealing with those customers. So I did it from that end, and then I also took it to where I was working. I was flying every month up to the corporate offices of the franchise and sitting around boardroom tables, talk with them how we can improve the point of sale system. Well, that led on to, as technology evolved, the point of sale became like the central point of reporting, inventory management, dealing with vendors, getting catalog data. to tie it into the website, and emails and appointment scheduling. So all these things wrapped up into a system that allowed me to really know the inside workings of how to operate from the franchisor, because I had helped them build the system. And so I really became a systems guy working with the various departments, and that gave me the confidence and the know-how to be able to actually understand what they were doing really, really good. And then once the franchise evolved to 800, 900, 1,000 stores, kind of where they missed the boat a little bit, where they maybe not as flexible to be able to, be more nimble and make some changes, because you had a lot of people under a certain franchise agreement. It was pretty static. I wrote our franchise agreement to be very dynamic so we can improve and evolve with the changing industries of today, not only doing automotive work, but residential, commercial, and marine services from a mobile vehicle with a wrap of our brand on it. So I felt that we can do more, and that was something, although I can help Meineke grow to their fullest in ways, I couldn't really make them do everything I wanted them to do. I had a vision, and I couldn't do everything I wanted, so I had to really launch my own brand. And with that, I actually contacted them. I discussed what my plan was. It wasn't anything that was in conflict with them, because they were more in the repair business. We're more of the auto styling business, and it wasn't something that they wanted to do. So they allowed me to run my own venture alongside of running a lot of my Meineke stores. And a couple of years ago, I actually sold my last 2 stores. I still own a lot of the properties. I've done very well with the franchise. And now we have a thriving franchise ourselves that, we're looking to really put a lot on the board for next year. We're really very well established, and we're really happy about where we've come from.
Let's talk a little bit about the growth of Tint World. So I think about, it had to be 1985 when this New Yorker moved to South Florida, and one of the things I noticed, and it was a very fragmented business as I think back on it, but window tinting was going on everywhere. And my car at that juncture, I was coming from not the Northeast, but from North Texas, relatively warm environment, but nothing like South Florida. And everybody in South Florida had window tinting, and it was the first time I had ever seen the extreme to which windows could be tinted, because there were cars on the road then that you couldn't see the driver, even if he was staring you right in the face from the other side of his own windshield, for how dark their windows were. Talk about the business model a little bit from the consumer's perspective, and how broad and really I think it was probably fragmented then. A lot of different people probably doing tinting, but probably not doing it quite the way you did it. To help us understand a little bit about the evolution of the business model itself.
Well, yes, that's a good question. And by the way, you described it pretty well. It's a fragmented business. It still is to this day in some ways. But when it started in 1982, there really wasn't a real quality brand name of any kind, tint place, whether it be mom and pop or national name. It wasn't really there. And people typically did window tinting in those times because it looked good, or maybe it kept the car a little cooler. But as technology of the film evolved, and as people learned to be more conscientious with their health and the UV rays of the sun and the fading of the interior of the cars and the cost of cars, basically it started to become more important, because you're protecting your interior of your car, you're getting some privacy, you're also does still make the car look better, and the film now today actually can keep the car 70% to 80% cooler with film on it, which is making your air conditioning system run less, your engine run less, actually saving in some fuel. So it's really overall a very beneficial product that has evolved. But although the technology of the film evolved, there really is not a business model. Most of the business model is run from a distribution from manufacturers that sell film to independent people that either ride around in the truck or have a warehouse somewhere to do tinting. There's not a lot of retail, and there was no brand for it. So I saw an opportunity to not only do this brand, but similar to the Meineke model when they just did mufflers, I saw that if we expand services, we can help these stores grow even more and offer a full year-round business model that would be really stable and a lot of fun, and it really includes a lot of safety. So we extended the Tint World to have a lot of things, including remote starts, alarm systems, car stereo upgrades. audio video system upgrades. People put the TVs in the back of the headrest in the seats, and maybe they don't come with at the time with from the vehicle manufacturer, so they can upgrade them. Backup cameras, security devices, which is very, very big in today's world, and it's continuing to evolve. The connected car industry is rolling right into what we basically thought when the car stereo was going to roll out and kind of not be popular, because newer cars are coming with pretty good systems. There's still always room for an upgrade, and now it's all about technology and adding safety and security systems, tracking devices to service vehicles or small businesses. So there's a lot with that with mobile electronics. There's also the consumer electronics with radar detectors, the fun stuff that you put in vehicles to make them look good, sound good, and actually operate better. Performance upgrades. We do a lot with film, like we do now. Paint protection film on cars to protect them from the chips and the road debris. It protects the paint from fading. We do vehicle wraps. People either want to just change the color or make their car cooler looking, or flat black, or certain colors, or if they want to actually put a wrap on the vehicle to advertise their brand of their business. We help design it and install their wraps, and that becomes a billboard for their business. There's a lot of franchise companies.
I'm interested in learning more about, I had a question that was formulating, which kind of evolved as I was listening to some of these other profit centers that you're describing. My first question was in wonderment as to whether or not the same way that Meineke might not have worked as well in the South Florida market as it might have up north because of differences in climate. My first question initially was going to be in reverse. Does a business like the tinting business suffer from the same challenges and find itself more restricted to the southern tier states than it might to the north? But then you started piling on with all these other profit centers. So how does that work from a global perspective as compared to just, sun-intense Sun Belt markets?
Well, I do. There is a change in what's popular in more different areas. Because again, this is not like a maintenance item where everybody needs brakes or everybody needs something. This is a model that people, a lot of times they just want to buy. We do auto detailing. It gets them coming back over and over again so we can take care of their vehicle, make it look good. But it does change from time to time. Like we have stores in Canada. We have stores in the South, in California. So the products and services that are wanted or desired, whether it be brands or the specific service, certain areas they want more truck parts and accessories. Certain areas they want more car stereos. The cars are older in that area, or maybe people just really are more into upgrading their stereos in certain areas and demographics. So it is a definite variable, but it's not that far of a swing. Whether a product category is more popular in New York versus California or Canada or South Florida, it's not more than a 15 to 20% swing. There is times of the year that certain services are more popular than others. I can tell you, we're approaching the winter time now in the Northeast, and these guys are already ordering pallets of remote start systems for vehicles that they all come in one after the other. I mean, they just bang them out, 10, 20 a day, and they're all really good ticket items. We don't get that kind of sales and remote starts in South Florida. You would think we would, because people want to remote start the car to be cooler. But in the winter, you have to do it. It's just too cold. In the summer, it's not as popular. So certain product categories are stronger in certain markets. I mean, we go to Texas. I mean, the truck market is just crazy. The lightings we do on the trucks, the spray and bed liners we do, the different types of lift kits and truck accessories. I mean, it's really a big market for it. It's not saying we don't sell that in other markets, but certain markets usually take dominance over other categories just by way of the nature of the people and the car mix.
So, Charles, before we go to our mid-show break and we get into the franchise model, tell us how the business has evolved from a marketing standpoint. Obviously, 2006 to 2016, so many things have changed, especially in the digital world. And as you, had said very clearly, this is not the type of service or product sale that somebody needs, like a car repair. This is all based upon emotion. It's based upon desire more than need. So how has your marketing changed, and what does that marketing look like in order to attract the consumers to Tint World?
Well, again, when it's the styling business industry is a huge industry, whether it's clothing, whether it's, car accessories, or whether it's home styling, it's always, you have to have a real good, glitzy brand that people want to buy into. So you have to have a beautiful showroom. And I always talk to my franchisees in one way, saying that there's 3 points of facilitating the sale and properly executing. And number one is the external marketing. Is the marketing you put out on the web, on social media, on all the traditional marketings and local opportunities, is that going to look and feel and draw the customer in to what they want to see versus anything else they can imagine that they want? So that marketing, the creative, the artwork, the design, the branding, and the call to action has to be strong in all these channels. Now, when the customer comes in, now you have the internal marketing. When they come into our stores, they have to see a quality design display. We have videos built in on all categories because we are a niche market. People don't know all the details about it. So we do a lot of video, a lot of graphic design, explaining what the products do. We have interactive displays that tell the difference between the films and the products and the alarms and the stereos, and it all interactively works. So that is a really big part of it. So the external marketing ties into the internal brand marketing when they get to the store and they understand our business, and they really can't get that kind of experience just anywhere. And then the last part of it is facilitating the sale. We are in the service business, so we have to make sure that when the customer comes in, not only they see the external, internal marketing, but when they speak to one of the staff or the services get done in the service bays, the work gets done and explains to the customer how to use everything and how to deliver the vehicle. Once those 3 components are executed properly, we have a really good customer that's leaving with a great experience, and that's the kind of thing you have to have if you want to be in the styling business today.
This is Franchise Today. I'm Stan Friedman along with Paul Segreto, and we're speaking today with Charles Bonfiglio, an American entrepreneur, franchisor, and president and CEO of Tint World Automotive Styling Centers. Franchise Today is brought to you by the Franchise Foundry, bringing emerging brands to market for more than 30 years with the kind of growth that comes with experience, healthy, sustainable growth. The Franchise Foundry provides clients with coaching and consulting, a hybrid approach, fostering more effective solutions for their clients and their franchisees. The Franchise Foundry team is rich in practical, hands-on experience and expertise in general business management, operational and change management, and is skilled and proficient in digital marketing, franchise recruitment, and development. Let them also assist you with creating roadmaps for potential mergers and acquisitions and the guidance needed to navigate those courses should those be of interest to you. Learn more about Paul Segreto and the Franchise Foundry, along with their expanding list of clients at www.franchisefoundry.com. Franchise Today also brought to you by FRM Solutions, offering best-in-class CRM and document management software designed specifically for franchising. If your CRM doesn't manage and store text as well as email, provide simple collaborative communications between you and your prospective and existing franchisees, it may be time to give FRM a look. With FRM, all candidate and franchisee conversations, emails sent and received by anyone on your team can be permanently tracked and stored in candidate and franchisee records. Plus, their state-of-the-art candidate portal provides an unparalleled experience for prospective franchisees never before seen in virtual brochures. And one more thing with FRM, your version of the latest cloud-based platform is upgraded twice a year at no additional cost to you, so you're always operating the latest and greatest versions of their solutions. Never again face long waits for expensive upgrades to outdated systems. And access to FRM couldn't be easier from the cloud or directly within your Outlook inbox. FRM for practical solutions, no long-term contracts, no commitments. Start tracking and managing everything, including text, today. Find them easily with no excuses, just solutions on the web at frmsolutions.com. Charles, we have learned a ton about the diversity of your business, and I want to move that into the franchising side of the equation and begin exploring how the franchise model works, and especially when you've got what seems to be such an array of services that you provide. How do you get your arms around consistency of experience and training your franchisees in so many different aspects of your business?
Well, that's a good question, and I really believe it's all about having the right systems in place. Starting as being a franchisee first, when I had one store, they had a system that allowed you to really kind of manage one store. And I think I helped, grow their system to different categories and how to manage them. And I wrote the anatomy of all the different services and how to operate them, where to buy from, how to do things. But our system and have come a long way since then. So in Tint World, I really wanted to say it took all these years for my last franchise that I was with to get 30-some-odd years to get to where the system was pretty well good. But again, they had a static contract that it was hard to convert everybody to the right frame of mind. So I had to build the Tint World platform in a way where we would have all virtual tour information and at the access to their fingertips. So, we want to have an online training program with video training. So where not only we can train the franchisees with this tool, but they can also help train their own employees and their own staff with the same tools as they see fit. We also could help them have a store-in-the-box program. So we streamline, when they're ready to open up, how we just automatically have everything shipped there and get up. And it's usually within a week or two, we can have their store completely retrofitted with our branding and displays and packages. So having the system to get returned, and then we have our lead generation system. We're very big on marketing the whole brand. And so we have an intranet system that has our own CRM built into it. It's customized. Consumers come on our website. It ties to our intranet. It gives us leads. We can check where the leads are coming from, what kind of customers. We can send the customers automatic email responders. We could, basically have drip mail campaigns. We can have, targeting on the web, including social media and online. So we're very big on the web. A lot of people that are looking for a service like we have, because we are a niche market, is they go and they search for it. And there we go. We pop up and we give them everything that they want, everything they're looking for. So we've really evolved our system. And again, a lot of this is because I was very integral of helping my former franchise convert their business from the technology standpoint and marketing. I was on the marketing department. I was in the vendor department, and being the chairman of the computer committee really has to deal with all these departments together. So when I was ready to launch Tint World, I said, I'm going to build this thing as if we already have 1,000 stores. So when we get to 50, it's all built out, it's all laid out, it's all automated. I don't have to have 50 accountants in the corporate office to deal with customers or franchisees. We can just basically have one or two people that the system just automates and it all processes properly. And we really focused on the customer service of our operations team to work with our franchise owners. Because if we know we put our time and money and efforts into working with them and just teaching them how to use the tools that we've built for them to automate their business, they're going to not only be able to scale quicker, improve sales, but actually have a better quality of life for both them and their employees, as well as that's going to make them want to feel good about the brand and probably open up more stores to grow. Because if the more it's automated, the more they can have multiple stores without feeling that they own a job. They own a business. The business should work for them. They shouldn't work for the business. There is a turnaround point, between 6 months to a year based on, really getting good at what you do. But we put the tools in place for them to be able to really get a harness on running their operation and then eventually stepping back and having their team of staff run their operation for them. So that's kind of what we try to put together. It's really all about systems.
So who is it that makes the right kind of candidate? Does somebody need to bring the depth of automotive aftermarket experience that you or your experience has led you into this business from, or is there a better path or a different path? What are the important must-have skill sets for a franchisee that they need to bring with them, and then what do you need to train them up on from there?
Really, they don't have to have any industry experience, whether it be in tinting or servicing vehicles or servicing homes or boats. It's good if they like it, if there's a lot of automotive enthusiasts or home, styling enthusiasts out there, or people that work in corporations that want to actually improve their own systems, which we have. So those people that like the business model, where they like being around cars, they like being around fun things, they like the service industry, you have to like people, because you're going to deal with people. And whether it's dealing with your customers or eventually dealing with your staff that's running your operation from you, if they're happy and you know how to be a leader and treat them right, use the system and apply it, you're going to have a happy staff. It's important to pay people well, but it's also just as important for them to be happy about who they're working with and for. So we try to find people that are leaders, that are likable, that really enjoy wanting to go into a business and put the time in, dedicate themselves to build the business, so eventually the business could be working for them, and they have bigger dreams. So that's really all it needs to be. They just have to want to put the hard work and dedication in to learn the business, become a pro at it. We help them do that, learn the systems, and the systems at that point will allow them to be able to staff up and grow as fast or as long as they want.
So tell us a little bit about the type of location and investment level that a franchise candidate would be looking at when they open up a Tint World business.
Yes, that's a good question as well. A full turnkey business, everything inclusive, to open up the business with having some funding in the bank to carry them for the first few months or so, would be a low of 108 to a high of 198. So just under $200,000 on the high side and just over $100,000 on the lower side. And the really difference between that expense is basically a lot on market area and the size of location. Because, of course, if you have the leases, typically the leases or the mortgage rates, we try to keep somewhere in the area of $3,000 to $6,000, preferably under $6,000. And by doing that, we're basically keeping the overall rents basically under 10%. We like to keep it 8% of gross sales. So we already forecast what the area calls for. We do demographics on the market area. We basically do studies on competitor analysis to see what competition is in the area, if any, and then how that may impact us. And then we do search terms online to see how many people are searching around this area based on the competitive analysis and what we have, versus another area where we already have stores that is a similar area to this area. And it pretty much gives us a formula that tells us, well, we kind of know what the store is going to do in this area if you have the same operator in this area as these other stores. So it's really not, I guess years ago it was a very sophisticated formula. In today's world, with all the search we have and all the technology we have at our fingertips with our marketing department, we kind of really only know what's going to happen. We know what prices are. We can get feedback from our vendors, what's being sold in what marketplaces. So we get a lot of those analytics that give us information about finding a store and putting it in. And so a full store could range based on the price variation is based on how much inventory they buy, whether it's $15,000 or $25,000 in inventory, whether they do a $25,000 display or a $50,000 display, whether the lease location needs a $5,000 build out, or we're getting the landlord to fund the build out in the deal, or if they have to put $30,000 or $40,000 into a build out. So these are the areas that will vary on the price point. Now, so we try to target for that price, and we usually do pretty well with it.
So obviously there must be some other brands in the space, both in the franchise side and, of course, on the independent side. What differentiates Tint World from these other businesses that might be out there?
Well, I think that we are the only real true franchise brand in the complete area that we service. There may be one or two simulators out there that are smaller and way smaller, like they tried to do something, but a lot of it's got to do that we have a full-blown franchise system. It's not a distributor model. It's not a license model. It's a full-blown franchise system with a national advertising fund that each dealer contributes to and allows us to manage that based on what we feel is best to try to help them drive business into their stores. I mean, people don't want to buy into a franchise business and have no marketing on their behalf, and they have to now learn to be a guru in marketing. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do in today's world. I'm not saying it can't be done, but they should be worried about or concerned with operating their store and their staff and their customers and growing their business and having some contribution on the advertising, materials and ideas that we have. We rely heavily on, their feedback and the analytics that we see. But really, our advertising fund allows us to, help us grow the chain and the brand and keep consistency, and allows them to focus on their business, not having to wonder what's the new thing in the marketing industry. We share all the information with them. We do the heavy lifting for them, and we show them how to participate to, get into the, the ratings, reviews, the online marketing, interaction with customers, keeping their store looking and operating right, updating displays and materials, new vendors and products and services that we add, how to do things we try to really give them as much as we can, as if it's our own store, our own money on the line. As we put it that way, they'll feel it that way, and we'll train it that way. And that's really what's most important to us.
So let's talk about the franchise candidate and what kind of experience do you treat them to? How do they learn about the opportunity? What kind of a process do you put them through? And then how does your team separate the wheat from the chaff and determine whether you've got the right kind of a candidate for this kind of business, engaged in learning about the business opportunity and what it could look like for them?
Well, when they come in to look about the franchise, we're probably similar in some ways to other franchises where we want to get like information on the candidate, and we want to make sure that this is the right business for them. So, monetarily, that it's the right business. Make sure that their work ethic and load that they want to put on this is going to be good for them. I mean, if we set someone up for success and something that we think is good for them, more than likely it's going to be easier for us and better for them to grow quicker and make money. And really build a lifestyle they want. So we're just really trying to help. It's hard for us to say, no, you can't. If they've got the financial wherewithal, we don't want to say no. But, we'll also advise them. I mean, we're trying to make a relationship with somebody. If this is good for them after our initial discussions and they come down to a discovery day and meet our franchisees in local markets, and they meet all the corporate team, they ask as many questions as they want and take as long as they need to know to discover our business model. When they think it's right for them and we think it's right for them, at that point we can move forward with buying the franchise and moving forward with, giving them ideas of where the territories we think would be good for them. At that point, we go into a franchise agreement and we begin looking for the location. Once the locations are secured, which we help do, we negotiate with them on every lease, every location. We help them find locations. They sometimes find them. They submit them to us, and we review them. And we're really good at making sure that we get locations to set them up for success. So we do all those analytics on how well we think that location is going to perform compared to other locations that we already have and know how they're performing with similar surroundings. So once we get to that point and the lease or the purchase of the property is secured, then we schedule them for the next training available, which could be every month to 3 months, depending on how many people we have in the pipeline. And we hardly ever do a single training. Usually it's anywhere from 3 to 6 stores at a time. We have as many as 10 that come into training. But when they come into training, they're spending 2 weeks in a classroom training setting with PowerPoint. It's pretty much full days, 2 weeks, full time, Monday through Friday. On Saturdays, they get placed into a local store of one of 3 or 4 local stores to shadow them and watch how the operation works. After those 2 weeks are completed, we have a graduation day for the technical and sales training part of the program, and then they get assigned to an actual Tint World store, and they work from morning till night, open to close, for 1 full week in an operating store. And they have to do that within 3 to 4 weeks of finishing the in-store training, because we want to get them while they're fresh. I mean, in the office training. So we want to get them to go in the store when they're fresh and they know everything, so they can actually run someone else's store with them and mirror image them and see how everything operates in performing stores that we think are performing well, that they're going to be good to go there. So they'll spend another week there. After they go into an operating store, that's the 3rd week, then we have a couple of vendors. I say a couple, there's a few, 2 or 3 of them that have 3 to 4 day training on technical training. So when they want to learn, for instance, on our window films, they'll fly out and they'll go to our technical training. They'll learn how to do paint protection film installation, window film installation. They'll learn about all different films and the comparisons and the technical aspects of them, how to sell them, what the going rate is. Now, a lot of these things we teach them in our training, but it's more of a technical aspect of understanding the product and how to install it that they learn in our vendors that we set up arrangements with them. So whether it's window tinting, paint protection film, vehicle wraps, or whether it's mobile electronics or different types of service detailing supplies and products, we have either online video trainings that they take, courses, or they're actually in our vendors that they teach them our program of how to do technical installation. And they can do that also later on. So after they open their stores, they have a new employee come in. They want to get them technically trained. They can send them to our vendors, which we have a relationship with, that's set up that they will set them up with the training that we need. So that's pretty much a really important key to it, is the training and support. And then from that point, once they're open and operating, as soon as they get their store open on their soft opening, we send out a franchise operations manager to their store within the first couple of weeks of their opening usually, and basically work with them side by side, let them operate the store, help them, guide them, give them some feedback, and just be there for their full support system. They get a million questions in the first couple of weeks, so we want to be there for them. From that, following that trip, if they're all good to go, we pull the training wheels off, and then we're on Skype with them from our corporate office or from our different operations team around the country. We're on Skype with them on a daily basis the first weeks, and then it goes to a bi-weekly, and then it goes to eventually weekly, where they're going to be with us on training for weekly throughout the first 6 months until they more than make their break even. Sometimes that happens in less than 3 months, and sometimes it takes 6 months or more. Our goal is to get them up and knowing the system, getting profitable as soon as possible. Once they're there, then we can back off a little bit and not keep bothering them. I mean, after about 3 to 4 months, they'll say, "Stop! I'm good. I'm busy. I got 15 people in front of me. Don't call me anymore." Okay, don't call me. I miss you. It's like sending your kids off to college. You know, what do you mean you forgot about me? So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we treat. I mean, really, our whole franchise system is like one big family. It's amazing how they all get along and really rub off each other and learn from each other as well as we do at corporate. It could be scary sometimes.
So in the few minutes we've got left.
Yeah, go right ahead, Stan.
I just wanted to ask Charles just a follow-up question, and with knowledge that you've got stores that are single units and you've got co-brands or even conversion stores, what percentage of your 60-plus locations are multi-unit owned and operated? And, you know, I'm interested in how many of your initial investors have come back for second or even third bites of the apple.
We have... I don't know percentage-wise because we're growing so fast. I don't want to figure those out. But I can tell you we have, I think, 6 franchisees that are multi-store owners, whether they own 2 or 3 stores. And they're doing very well with them, and they're all looking to buy more. And then we have the single-unit owners that are aspiring to get their system down so well that they can have multiple locations. And so we coach them on it. So I wouldn't say it's a percentage. I mean, if we want to say percentage, I'd say, 8%, 10% are multi-unit, but we're growing really quickly. And a lot of these stores have already bought, a licensed packages. So they'll buy 3 stores for a particular area. Maybe they have 2 of them open and they're working on the 3rd. So we always have more opening. Some people that bought 3 stores maybe only have 1 now, but I'm not even counting those for the 2 other stores that they will open in the next year or 2. So multi-store owners are probably about 10% of the business. Of that, about 6 or 8% of those are actually active with multiple locations operating, and they're all doing well. When they get to the multi-store level, they know the system and they're ready to scale.
So Charles, and this one is definitely a question that I know Stan is always interested in learning. You seem like a very forward-thinking, person throughout your career. What trends do you see coming down the pike?
That's a good one. It's a lot of trends are coming down the pike with autonomous vehicles, with home automation, with new technology that's coming out with computers and cars, and basically the bigger thing that's being concerned about with cars is not breaking into them, it's hacking into them and taking over the car and things that really I don't want to bring onto the show right now, terrorist type things, that this is what is concerning. So, doing fleet vehicles, doing personal customer vehicles. And you know what? The automotive industry was always the people that took care of the electrical systems in cars. But they couldn't figure out how to do things like remote starts and alarm systems and stereo systems and tracking devices and breathalyzers that we do and all these different things we do for governments as well. So they don't do that type of stuff. So that is a wide open market where Tint World is going to really grow heavily into the future, as well as in home automation. I happen to be on the Consumer Electronics Association, now called the Consumer Technology Associations. I'm on one of the boards with them. I sit at the table, and I get involved with the Vehicle Technology Division. And what's going on is all the manufacturers, all the legislative, all the car manufacturers, the Ubers, the Googles, all these different vehicles, the Apple vehicles, I'm sitting with all the vice presidents and presidents of these companies talking about how we're going to deal with deal against the car dealers and legislation. How do we get access to the computers, and how do we make it safe, and how do we build aftermarket things that go into them? So there's a lot of that coming down the pipe in the next 3 to 5 years. It's amazing how it's going to turn. But you can see how the technology industry is just evolving so fast. And it's the same thing with homes or office buildings. It's automation,
sure.
It's basically converted to electronics, and all these new technologies are bringing new opportunities for small business. We got to stay on the front end of just growing it, and that's my job, to bring the company to continued growth.
Great, that's excellent. So tell interested candidates how they would get in touch with you and learn more information.
Well, they can call. They can go to our website. It tells a lot. Whether it's tintworld.com, www.tintworld.com, or they can go to tintworldfranchise.com, which is a link on the website to that. If they want to go to www.tintworldfranchise.com, that has a little video-based website with different videos, tell about how we operate. There's links in the bottom that tell you a lot of things that you want to know, preliminary things, and you can sign up and get a download kit that'll tell you all about the franchise with brochures and information. And if you choose to get contacted, we can contact you and answer your questions, or you can call us. So it's all there for you to go on. The 800 numbers on there, and all the web forms and all the material is there for answer most of the questions before you're ready to call and see if this is right for you. But we're here for you whenever they want to call. We have somebody always waiting to deal with them and answer all questions.
Sounds good. Thanks, Charles. I appreciate it. Thanks for being a guest on Franchise Today.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the support and spending some time with me.
Our pleasure, Charles. Thank you.
Okay, bye, Paul. Bye, Stan.
So, Stan, another episode of Franchise Today coming to a close. There was a great introduction front of the house today. I was giving some thought to some of the different things that you were relating that Robert had indicated in a conversation with you this morning. That's Franchise Today being right on the spot with breaking news, and I look forward to reading the press release. We have some upcoming events. Stan, I know you'll be at the Emerging Franchisor Conference in New Orleans next week. Isn't that correct?
Yep, 1 week from today, Paul. That is correct. And by the way, it just occurred to me that I should probably share with you that it's only weeks away, that in December 13th to be exact, second Tuesday of the month, that President and CEO Robert Crisante will be here in Atlanta. As in fact, FRM sponsors his luncheon. So the Southeast Franchise Forum, in conjunction with the Franchise Business Network, each year for the past many years, has had the good fortune to secure the CEO of IFA to come give us a year-end report card and a look ahead into the coming year. This will be Robert's second time with us, and how timely that it's right on the heels of the election. So FRM Solutions proud to be sponsoring that luncheon on December 13th. And the Southeast Franchise Forum website, if you're an IFA member, you can go up to the Southeast Franchise Forum website and register to attend.
That is absolutely great. Thanks for sharing that. I, of course, will be out next week as well at the Franchise Brokers Association Conference and Expo in Orlando, Florida. I'll be addressing the group for the first time as the association president. So there's some exciting times ahead for both of us. And to that end, next week, we will not be airing live. We will have a replay or have access to all of our replays, of course. So certainly drop in and take a listen. And then the following week, the day before Thanksgiving, when so many are traveling and will be abroad, we will also be off the air. So we won't be back for about 3 weeks. And Stan, certainly I'll be talking to you between now and then.
Oh, I can't wait to compare notes on your conference and mine, Paul, and looking forward to an upcoming kind of a special next-gen edition of Franchise Today that we're working on, which is going to, just a little teaser, we're going to bring together the three-legged stool of next-gen in franchising. We're going to have Sean Goldsmith representing Markery as a supplier, a 25-year young man who has been around franchising since he's all of 17 years old and has had some incredible success in his career. We're going to have a Jersey Mike's franchisee who right out of college began his career with Jersey Mike's. Chris Regasio is his name, and He's now a multi-unit operator with area development agreements in place for many, many more. And Paul, I think you've got a surprise for us on the franchisor side.
Yep. And we'll be bringing somebody from right out of the Next Gen program, just awaiting confirmation. So I'll hold back on that surprise, but we'll be doing that one of the Wednesdays in December when we're back, and certainly ahead of the holidays. So until 3 weeks from now, we do have a guest 3 weeks from now from our great friends over at Fishman Public Relations. It'll be Michael Barnett from Romp and Roll. That's Michael Barnett, the CEO, and that'll be on November 30th. So we'll be off the 16th, off the 20th, 23rd. We'll be back on November 30th. And then, of course, we'll have the Next Gen show in one of the Wednesdays in December. So until then, wishing you the best in this very great thing we call franchising. And Franchise Today is out.
When you're part of a military family, you understand sacrifice and support. At American Public University, we honor your dedication by extending our military tuition savings to your extended family. Parents, spouses, legal partners, siblings, and dependents all qualify for APU's preferred military rate of just $250 per credit hour for undergraduate and master's level programs. American Public University. Value for the whole family. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.